Good morning and welcome to the Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We have been seeing a political issue which is essentially should be seen as an issue of human culture, politics, and sociology. Food is important, and it's important not only to satisfy the pangs of hunger, but it's also important since food defines the socio-cultural development. As a matter of fact, the history of human development is a history of food. And at different times, different foods define the space as well as the parameters of the human development. And the human development has always been sustainable till now. In fact, farming is the most important aspect of the human development, and there have been five food sectors that have defined our world for the last billions of years. Don't be amazed. People have always thought that we started with agriculture. No, we did not. And let's not deny that human development is a process of the development of mental, physical, and spiritual faculties. We are what we eat. And that's why the Hindu concept of tamas, rajas, food is important. But apart from that, what we eat can also tell a lot about our history. Not the history of the kings and the queens, but the history of human beings as species on this planet. And still more important, it tells us about the evolution of the human society. We are aware that the early humans were all hunters as well as foragers, domesticating animals, planting crops created settled communities, which in turn looked for new flavors and foods. And originally it was a local market, but it moved to a global business. And today this global business is worth $1.5 trillion. And it's from this point of view that the government of India's action in enhancing agriculture to ensure that India has a pie of this huge cake of 1.5 trillion, which is capable of doing, and it's not doing. But still, despite the value of the food traded globally having doubled since 1995, so just 25 years, and we have doubled the value of the global trade. But is it equitable? No. We still live in an age of food inequality, and this inequality is marked by sharply contrasting attitudes. While 850 million people go hungry around the world, even in the developed countries, still food has become a lifestyle and a political issue that delineates social groups. And what's happening in India today is symptomatic of power struggle between the party in power and the opposition parties baying like dogs, trying to snatch powers, try to have their own piece of cake, or shall I say, a piece of the meat. But leave political things aside. Let's talk of the socio-cultural issues. What is certain is that today's food production is unsustainable and there's a need of radical overhaul if we want to feed 2 billion extra people who will be added to the population in the next few years. Now let's have a look at the foods, the variety of foods, and the type of foods that have shaped the history of the humankind. Again, I'm referring to the developmental history and not the history perceived as fights, kings, queens, generals. The most important part has been played by meat. Despite all that cries of vegans and non-vegetarians, meat is a 2.5 million old taste. 2.5 million years back. Meat was the most desired food. And the whole hunting and the inventions of arms, knives, swords, daggers, lances, and then gunpowder was to hunt and get meat. And the early humans, of course, did eat a diet of fruits, seeds, and bark, but it was supplemented essentially by meat. And the first evidence of the human using tools to cut and prepare meat has been dated from more than 2.6 million years ago. And the earliest domesticated farm animals were not cows, they were sheep. And they were domesticated in Southwest Asia 13,000 years ago. 3,000 years passed, and then the goats were domesticated. And then human beings learned a new skill. This new skill was preserving meat. And we have seen 7,500 years old portion of beef in China. So 7,000 years back, people used to eat meat and preserve it, and it's preserved till today. Then came a new social order in the developmental history of mankind, and that was the use of cereals. And the use of cereal was the dawn of agriculture. Fruits, nuts, and everything, they were grown naturally. Human beings did not plant them, they just grew. And then, the earliest humans, we know seeds from the wild grass. And then they started sowing those seeds. And cultivation of cereal started, but it started 12,000 years back. So while meat we have been using for more than 2.6 million years, cereals have been used for 12,000 years back. And the first cultivated crop or cereal was wheat, followed by rice. Wheat was cultivated 12,000 years back, rice about 8,000 years back, and both were done in China and India to begin with. And then it went to the other countries. But then before they were cultivated, wheat and rice were eaten long before that as wild grasses. And early cultivation produced only low yields, a few tons per hectare. And 10,000 years back, if you study the Jewish and the Christian history, you would find that 10,000 years back there was the city of Jericho. And it was the first town to grow prosperous on growing cereals. First city in the world. Earlier it was small hamlets, 10 people, 15 people growing and using it. But it was not a trading thing. However, Jericho was the first town to grow prosperous because of growing and trading seed. Then comes the third stage of evolution of human development. It was the globalization of flavor. This was the first was the age of meat, the second was the age of cereal. They have been overlapping and they continue till today, but then clearly demarcated. And then comes the third age, the age of spices, which led to colonization and international trade. As a matter of fact, no one is quite sure when the spice trade started, but there is evidence that 4,000 years back, cinnamon from Sri Lanka, cassia from China was sold by the merchants in the Middle East. And trade during the Roman Empire has been described by one expert as the birth of globalization. There was a spice routes from India, Sri Lanka, and China going all the way around the globe, whether it was America, whether it was Europe, Mexico, Incas, anywhere. And this spice route was instrumental in the flow of ideas along with these routes up to the Middle Ages. And that helped shape our new world, the modern world. So, this third stage, the spice age, led to globalization, led to colonization. Actually, the traders from Europe came to India, China, Sri Lanka in search of spices. And then they found a golden opportunity in establishing the rule. The flag followed the trade. And then came the age of potato. As a matter of fact, the first global food is potato. Amazed, isn't it? And originally believed to have evolved from a poisonous tuber of ancestor of nightshade plant family. It was first cultivated 10,000 years back, almost the same time as cereals were planted. But while cereals were being grown in China and India primarily, potato was cultivated in Andes, Peru, that's Latin America. And then in the 1500s, that's the 15th century, it was brought to Europe. And then, like a wildfire, global wildfire, it spread all over the world and became a global food. Today, China, India, Ukraine are the biggest growers of potato. And potato is a part of everyday life, everyday diet across the globe. There's hardly anybody who doesn't take potato in one form or the other. And there's a running feud as a sideline, I can tell you, between France and Belgium as to who invented French fries. And French fries, are a global food. And the fifth and the last are the latest. era is the trendy eating which we are having today. I would like to call it the era of avocado. Today we have 1 million hectares of land where avocados are being grown, and it is hailed as a superfood because it has unsaturated healthy fats. And do you know how valuable the product is? People grow wheat and rice and potatoes, even almonds and pistachio, and there are no armed guards. But it's called green gold in Mexico, and there are armed guards protecting the cultivation of avocado. And as a matter of fact, they say that the fruit is as profitable as growing opium. The only thing is while opium is harmful, avocado is useful. And because of the popularity of avocado toast, the fruit is now synonymous with hipsters culture. That's the latest culture, the hipster culture. And this, but then look at the other side. This will be dethroned. All this noise about use of avocado is now being derided because two avocados have a carbon footprint of 850 grams, double than that a kilo of bananas. So bananas are environmentally more healthy than the avocados are. So this avocado era also might be coming to an end. But these have been the 5 stages of the growth of the human development, which is now clearly defined by the foods we eat. And considering that importance of the food can never be minimized, nor can the role of the farmers be minimized, because until and unless they change their farming practices and anticipate the coming trends, they'll remain where they are. The real rich farmers are those who not only make use of the food trends but can forecast which food will be required. Are they are all market savvy that they start anticipating and creating demand for the food that they are growing. But the human development, if seen through the lens of the food consumption and food pattern, assumes a very, very interesting angle, and our knowledge of this food circle or food based human development, the history of the world, assumes a different shape altogether. Don't you think so? Thank you.